it's 9 p.m. and at this time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have Their state presides over the 16 sessions of the Council of Ministers. The return of the young champions of the country to the country after harvest medals in Cameroon. For the international scene, Indonesia earthquake, at least 162 dead in earthquake in Indonesia. Welcome to our newsroom. Under the chairmanship of His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, President of the Republic, Head of Government, took place this Tuesday, November 22, 2022, the 16 sessions of the Council of Ministers. The following texts were examined and approved. Listen to the spokesman of the government, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf.
Sous la présidence de son Excellence, M. Ismail Omar Guelleh, Président de la République, chef de gouvernement, a eu lieu ce mardi 22 novembre 2022, la 16e séance du Conseil des ministres.
Minister in charge of Digital Economy and Innovation first issued draft law on the ratification of the agreement establishing the Smart Africa Alliance by the Republic of Djibouti. The purpose of the bill is to ratify the charter establishing the Smart Africa Alliance, which was founded in 2013 in Kigali, Rwanda, during the Transform African Summit held from 28 to 31 October 2013 in Kigali. The heads of state and government adopted a declaration called Smart Africa Manifesto, in which they commit to accelerate socio-economic development through information and communication technologies. Our country is already an active member of this multilateral organization and has already organized in March 2019 the 7th meeting of the African Council of Regulators, and which is one of the 4 advisory bodies of the institution. The mission of the Smart Africa Alliance is to accelerate the sustainable socio-economic development of the continent by introducing Africa to a knowledge economy through affordable access to broadband and the use of information and communication technologies. Smart Africa brings together 32 member states and several regional and international organizations. The private sector represents a market of over 800 million people. Our country participate fully in the activities of the alliance and pilots the flagship project Cloud and Data Center. The bill ratifying the agreement aims to give concrete expression to our commitment to building an affordable infrastructure in developing a digital society. Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, second issue, draft order approving the budget estimate for fiscal year 2023 of CRIPEN. The estimated budget of CRIPEN for the fiscal year 2023 is set in expenses and income at 431 million Djiboutian francs. CRIPEN's 2023 investment budget is 8% lower than the amount allocated in 2022. In this context, the reinforcement of printing equipment and computer equipment to support the revision of teaching and educational materials for basic education has been renewed. In 2023, it is planned to continue the revision of textbooks and materials of the bilingual school, the retranslation of textbooks for private Arab schools, the strengthening of the development of ICT in all levels of education, and the continued digitization of textbooks and teaching aids. The adoption of the draft decree will allow the Center to ensure the smooth running of its missions and to participate fully in the policy of improving the quality of education. Third issue, draft degree is granting accreditation to the BTS and professional licenses of the Institute of Accounting and Higher Administration. The accreditation of training in BTS management of business units, transport, logistics, and transit in accounting and management, and 2 professional licenses. In accordance with decree number 2014-123/PRE, the said accreditations are granted for a period of 2 years and 3 years. This project will allow the Institute to ensure quality education by offering high-level specialized training. Fourth issue, draft order granting accreditation of a bachelor's and master's degree courses of the African Institute of Djibouti. It is granted to the African Institute of Djibouti the accreditation of the training of 6 professional licenses and 3 master's management and administration of business and logistics system and transport in accordance with the provisions of decree number 2014-123/PRE. The said accreditation is granted for a period of 3 years for the license and 2 years for the master's. Fifth issue, draft order granting the accreditation of training DUT and professional license for the School of Management of Djibouti. It is granted to the School of Management of Djibouti the accreditation of the training of DUT and professional licenses in accordance with the provisions of decree number 2014-123/PRE. The said accreditation is granted for a period of 2 years for the DUT and 3 years for the license. Ministry of Youth and Culture, 6th issue draft decree amending decree number 2016 073/PR/SEJS of March 24, 2016 on the creation of the National Committee for the Fight Against Drugs. The purpose of the draft decree is to amend certain provisions of decree establishing a National Committee for the Fight Against Drugs. This revision aims to put in place a better regulatory arsenal to formalize the program to be adopted in the activities in collaboration with other ministerial departments. This text aims to reactivate the National Committee of the Fight Against Drugs in order to work together and reduce the impact of this scourge that threatens the health of young people. This new provisions aims to expand the community's mission to include alcoholism and the management of addiction treatments and support for young people in pain. The decree is part of the government's policy to fight against all forms of drugs. Communications. The Acting Minister of International Affairs and Cooperation reported on the participation of His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh in the opening ceremony of the 2022 Football World Cup held on 20 November 2022 in Qatar. At the end of the session, the Prime Minister made a communication to the Council of Ministers on the interministerial meeting devoted to the political, economic and social situation of the country and the reforms achieved to improve the business climate held on November 21, 2022 at the People's Palace. In a context of rapid and profound change in the global economic environment, our country has made the improvement of its business climate a strategic choice aimed at building a soil economy capable of facing the challenges of production and international competitiveness. A discussion framework has been identified with 4 strategic axes, namely national security, energy security, food and nutrition security, and diversification of the national economy. Finally, to monitor the progress of the work, a report will be prepared with a proposed strategy for government intervention in the respective sectors. The Minister of Interior reported on the working visit he made to Cairo in the framework of strengthening cooperation in the field of security from 19 to 21 November 2022.
The 3 young Djiboutian champions of judo have just returned to the capital after their participation in a competition in Cameroon, Yaoundé, where they won 2 gold medals and a silver medal. This is the young Al-Ghasser Radwan, aged 50 years, and won the gold medals, and Sassou Hassan Mohamed, the gold medals, and a silver medal won by Aden Alexander. In the senior category, upon their arrival at the airport, a warm welcome was given to them by the Secretary of State for Sports, His Excellency Hassan Mohamed Kamil, the Secretary General of the Presidency, Mohamed Abdullahi Wais, the President of the National Olympic Committee, Aisha Garad Ali, and as well as the Secretary General of the Sport Department, Khadija Ibrahim Idris. This victory is a remarkable performance of these young people who benefits from scholarships thanks to the grant of the President of the Republic, who granted to the young people in different sport disciplines. The support of the President of the Republic for the sports gives the full measure of his attachment to the young talents in different sport disciplines. The young judoka of Djibouti, Alexander Aden Hussein, and senior Sassou Hassan Mohamed, and junior and Al-Ghasser Radwan cadet expressed their deep thanks to the President of the Republic for his undefectible support to the promotions of sports, especially judo. The President of the Federation of Judo, Mr. Faisal, underlined that this young judoka received a good intensive training with experienced trainers. As part of the official visit to establishments planned by MENFOP, the Sectoral Center for Vocational Training in Transport and Logistics of Balbala had the honor to welcome the delegation of the French Ministry of National Education and Youth yesterday afternoon, Monday, November 21, 2022, accompanied by Ms. Mouna Ismail Abdo, Inspector General of the General Education and senior MENFOP officials. The delegation was warmly welcomed by the director of the center, Mr. Mohamed Addash Khardon, who offered them presentations of the center in the meeting room, the opportunity to review the range of training courses in logistics and transport programs and educational projects, as well as the action plan 2025, focused on the demand of the local market and modeled on the level of the requirements of international standards. This fruitful and fabulous afternoon ended with a visit to the different workshops. The high-ranking of delegations of the French Ministry of National Education and Youth visited the training center for teachers of basic education. They were welcomed by the Director General, Ms. Aisha Farah Iltire, who presented the centers in its role and missions before offering them guided tours of the CFF structures. It should be said that this visit follows the mission of MENFOP in France during the summer to strengthen the framework of cooperation between the two ministries of education, Djibouti and France. It is in this perspective that a framework agreement and partnership agreement will be signed between the two institutions, a partnership that aims to strengthen cooperation between CFF and the Institute of the High Studies of Education and Training in several areas, such as the training of teachers of the MENFOP, the establishment of sustainable preparatory class for French grandes écoles, as well as capacity building of teaching staff and vocational training. As part of the monitoring of the disability dimensions in sectoral policy and programs, a workshop on the restitutions of the monitoring tool of disability in public policy was held at the People's Palace on Tuesday, November 2022. This workshop was sponsored by the director of NPH, Mr. Douali, and the representative of the UNDP, Emma Ano, and was attended by representatives of various ministerial departments. The concretizations of this approach will allow in a concrete way an improvement of the services rendered to the disabled people at the level of each sectoral ministry. This approach should therefore contribute to the achievement of the objectives of improving the lives of people with disability by empowering people with disability to play a central and active role in the economic and social development of Djibouti, and especially to remove the challenges and constraints that would prevent people with disability from fully enjoying their potential. Speaking loudly, the General Director of the NPH, Mr. Douali Mahmoud, gave an update of the NPH's achievements following this workshop on the restitutions of the tool for the monitoring disability in public policy and the main achievement of the NPH. As part of the week of the prevention of diabetes, the High Institute of Science Djibouti hosted a conference under the theme Diabetes, Educate to Protect the Future. This conference brought together several personalities, including the director of the institute, Ms. Nadira Abdallah Yahye, the professors, as well as the students. The objective through this conference is to raise awareness among students, increase the knowledge of diabetes everywhere in Djibouti, raise awareness of people at risks of diabetes with a simple test, fast and recognized, encourage preventive behavior of everyone. The health professionals on their side exposed on the projections the preventive behaviors of the individuals facing diabetes.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Yayo. I'm working in an ESS institution, and today we have conferences about diabetes disease. There is many people who doesn't know about this disease, and today we are telling the people and talking about this problem. They have to test them, and we are talking about the nurture that they have to take it, or they don't have to take it. Our constance in this, I presume that we have to do the test every time that we have to know our problems about this disease. We have to know all the things that we don't have to take it, like, for example, the insulin and the glucose, all these things.
The director of the institute, Ms. Nadira Abdallah Yahya, was pleased to have participated in the conference dedicated to the prevention of this disease. The objective through this conference is to raise awareness among students, increase knowledge of diabetes everywhere in Djibouti, raise awareness of people at risk of diabetes with a simple test, fast and recognized, encourage preventive behavior of everyone. This World Cup in Qatar has many surprises in stores. And now let's take a passionate look at this World Cup, a patience that brings together the World Cup of Qatar, all the world who have their ears riveted to Qatar. We are at the third day of the World Cup, which takes place from the first times in the Arab country. Since the beginning of this World Cup, 4 matches have been held. The opening between the host countries, Qatar and Ecuador, ended with the victory of Ecuador with a score of 2-0. Yesterday, the Lions of Teranga, Senegal, without Sadio Mane lost against Holland with a score of 2-0. The English of Harry Kane inflicted a bloody defeat to the Iranians with a score of 6-2. The Iranians scored the second on a penalty kick in the last minutes in the evening the Americans dominated the countries of Wales in the games, but the matches by a score of parity 1-1. The countries of Wales participate in the World Cup for the second time in its history since in 1958, at times against a certain Pele. Today the Saudis made the first surprise of the Cup in this World Cup Qatar 2022 by beating Argentina of Leo Messi, a sextuple golden ball of the 2-1. This afternoon, Denmark, Tunisia in the programs, and in the 2 others are playing Yesterday, at its elective General Assembly, the Djiboutian Athletics Federation has read its new president for a term of 4 years. The lucky man elected to head this august institution is not announced in the file of Athletics Djibouti. It is Mr. Saeed Ismail Hassan. This elective General Assembly was honored by the presence of the many personalities. In this case, Aisha Garad Ali, President of the National Olympic Committee, the Director of Sports and the Director of the Sports Agents, Omar Mohammed, and the various President of the Djibouti Athletics Club and several partners, sponsors. The bailiff, Mr. Mahmoud Omar Aden, took in hand the conduct of the vote for the elections of the new president of the federation for the period 2022-2026, with only one candidate in smooth, the incoming president, and a vote of 23 voters. The latter was pleased with the smooth conduct of the vote and declared Mr. Saeed Ismail Hassan elected with a number of 23 votes for and 7 votes absent. This gives a vote of 100% compared to the vote expressed. As part of the fight against smuggling and illegal product, after a very large operations of control carried out in the region of Dakhil by the Army Riyadh Internal Regiment of Dakhil in order to fight against smuggling, especially in the sector of Bandara, 35 kilometers from Dakhil. It was on the night of November 20, 2022, that elements of the Dakhil Riyadh Army, under the command of the Colonel of the Riyadh Army and the Chief of the Dakhil Customs Brigade, Mr. Musa Umar Musa, the latter intercepted 20 kilograms of 15 kilo each of cat. That is to say 1,000 kilo of cat coming from Ethiopia through the Bandara area, transported by runners on men's back, recalling that these operations were carried out under the authority of the Dakhil Customs Brigade, Mr. Musa Umar Musa, and the Colonel of the Dakhil Army, the Director General of the Customs and Indirect Right, Mr. Guled Ahmed Yusuf, addressed his warm congratulations to all the elements of the customs and military of Dakhil for their collaboration to the success of this operation. For the international scene, nearly 150,000 displaced children have no legal identity without birth certificate due to the fight to flight or civil status failures. Tens of thousands of the young Malian are at risk of not be able to vote and own property. Nearly 115,000 children displaced by conflict in Mali do not have a birth certificate and risk exclusionism and disenfranchisement because they cannot prove their identity, says the Norwegian Refugee Council. Thousands of children are excluded from society where they should be in school, says Maclean Nagustasha, directors of Mali NRCs. These 148,000 children are among the 422,000 people displaced by the war in Mali, according to August figures from a joint UN and Malian monitoring tool. At least 162 dead in Indonesia earthquake. Death toll expected to rise. Injured people treated on the ground in Indonesia. A powerful earthquake shocked the island of Java, the main one. The tremor was felt until the capital Jakarta, but it is in the west that the earthquake was the most violent. More than 162 people were killed. Dozens of buildings collapsed and under occupants, and many children among the victims after classes. They were taking extra lessons in several Islamic schools that did not resist the earthquake of magnitude 5.6. The death toll is expected to rise further, but it is difficult to make an estimate as the rural regions of Sinjar, with its 2.5 million inhabitants, is isolated. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.